Hey, welcome to China virtually. Hey, I'm really happy to share some moments with you to some fellow podcasters and for some wannabe podcasters, maybe. And I have been grateful to be able to have said, hey, I did a television show on cable TV in America and a radio show, and I do Facebook Live things all the time from the Great Wall or from somebody's countryside home here in China. I moved here almost 2 years ago. This September will be 2 years ago. I speak very little Chinese. I'm working on it. 我会讲一点点的普通话. That means I speak just a little bit of Mandarin. And I do a couple things. I work at a university teaching university students, public speaking, and in English, and they're all English majors and English translation majors. So hence my excuse why I haven't learned a lot of Chinese, because they want to speak English with me. Now, when this virus thing came up, I'm here in China, so I'm probably a good person for you to listen to. I'm going to share some ideas with you that will not only give you some information about what it was like here in China, and it's pretty much over here in China now. Everything is open except pretty much like just gyms and movie theaters, and they aren't doing any big sporting events or anything yet. But most everything else is back to normal here in China. Now, when this first broke out, my son was here visiting from America. And so he got kind of the beginning stages of it. It was a little hard finding him a flight going back to the U.S., but we did. And then once he got home, of course, then he really got it there too, after a short period of reprieve. Now, I'll be honest with you. The first maybe 3 weeks, probably 2 to 3 weeks, I was really lonely. I live on the campus by myself, the university campus. It's a super safe place. The security wasn't even letting taxis in or food delivery people. You have to go to the gate to get stuff. And it's a beautiful campus with trees and lakes and all that stuff. So, but my son was gone. He and I had just traveled to Beijing and Xi'an and Shanghai and we went to Thailand. So I went from a great, wonderful time with my son to being all alone. So yes, I did binge watch about 30 movies in just a couple of weeks, and completely switched my sleep pattern. So I was up all night and tried to be up all day. There was no work to do at the time. School hadn't started back up yet. So it was a lonely time. And then I started, I'm a neurolinguistics practitioner and a clinical hypnotherapist, as well as coaching other people in relationships and bettering themselves. So sometimes you got to kind of smack yourself in the face and say, hey, why don't you use some of your own advice? So after my 2 to 3 weeks of binge watching of movies, I decided, hey, it's time to figure out what can I do. So I did several things. The first thing I did is I realized all my students are at home, and so are their families, and just like on lockdown. So I started doing video chats with so many of my students. I got to meet their, Baba and Mama, their mom and dad, their grandma and grandpa, just on video. And even though we couldn't communicate in the same language, I built some relationships with families with video conferencing. So I recommend that you grow some relationships when you're in a pandemic situation like this. I also started doing a thing called Silly English here on TikTok. Yeah, it's the same as TikTok in America. It's just on a different server. So you guys can't follow me unless you're in China. But I do put some of my videos onto my Facebook page too, the Yes Man. My Facebook page, the Bit of Advice from Yes Place, one of my nonprofits. And I started doing these little videos with idioms, like what does it mean to wear many hats, or tongue in cheek, things that when literally translated don't make sense. So I started talking about all those things, hook, line, and sinker, all those little idioms. And I got an advertiser from America. It's a translation app company. And so I'm paying people to do all of the, the lower third text in both English and in the subtitles in English and in Chinese, so that people can watch it and enjoy it. And I'm paying some folks to do the editing of the videos. So I'm actually making way more money now than I was before because of some thinking of, gosh, what could I do in this pandemic that we're in? In fact, this all started even before it became a pandemic, because it started here in China. Now, I've also noticed that other opportunities too in trying to get some things done in my own personal life. Yeah, I'm writing a new textbook for colleges here in China on public speaking. I'm a TEDx speaker. I've been an international motivational speaker, and I thought, hey, I want to write my own textbook. So I'm collaborating with two other authors that are published, that are teachers in China. It helps to have a Chinese author's name on there as well. They feel that there's some good authority there if it's a English teacher who's Chinese. So we're collaborating on that, and I got more work done on that. Not enough. You always kind of kick yourself and think, I could have done more. But the opportunity is there for us to do some soul searching, to accomplish some of the things that we've been meaning to accomplish for a long time. So I recommend to you that you look at opportunity. Figure out what your biggest problem is. If it's sadness, then there's some techniques. There's a technique that I've named swell time, where you actually give yourself 10 to 30 to 45 minutes a day to allow those feelings of loneliness or sadness or upsetness or whatever to grow. Just like if you're hitting the head with a baseball, that it will swell and then eventually go back down. But with carpal tunnel, it tries to swell in a little sheath, and it can never fully swell. So it keeps hurting and hurting and hurting. Well, if we don't allow our emotions an opportunity to do the same, to swell and then release, then we're constantly getting spikes of panic and worry and loneliness. During the course of a day, if you know that you've scheduled a time to feel those feelings, then you can actually gain better control of your day and accomplish more, because tomorrow morning you'll be able to spend some more time, or tomorrow afternoon, whenever you set that time. So if that's your biggest problem is loneliness, then use some kind of a technique to help you with it. If it's money, if you need to earn some money, then start looking at what are the needs, what are the problems. It's the same way you do it when you're not online. You find a need and fill a need, just like in the cartoon movie Robots. I love that one. So see a need, fill a need, find a need, fill a need. Anyway, whatever it is. Or some of you know the history of the cash register. You create a need and then fill the need. If you don't know that history, look it up and you'll understand what I mean. So there are ways to make money online, and it's not just stuffing envelopes for a place, or don't follow the sheep, that are going to these programs. Actually discover something yourself and start it. Maybe, selling things online or whatever it is that you're going to do, but find an answer. There is an answer out there if you are creative enough. I guarantee you that that's possible. I'm in China, and it started here early, and I was able to figure out something to do. I also, had a kind of a realization too, that relationships built online continue offline later. And it's not something that, a lot of the young folks, a lot of young and old folks that feel they're young on Facebook and here in China on WeChat will say stuff. maybe mean things, or maybe they didn't think twice that in person they wouldn't have said to a person's face. But sometimes in a comment, they feel like online is different, that there's a distance, that there's a safety. But really there isn't. And obviously there's, online bullying. There, people can be hurt by it. But in the same way, on the other side of it, anything you do positive to build a relationship with a person or an audience, or a company as a potential partner, it will grow offline too. So I think that's a realization that all of us should have, is to know that what we start online later, once the pandemic has settled and it seems to return somewhat to normal, then realize that the work investment that you've put into relationships, that they will continue afterwards if you continue them. So it's a really good investment for you to put that time into building those relationships. Build a customer base if you're trying to earn money while you're online. Uh, and enjoy what you can. I know every country, wherever you're watching this in, has some different rules. You might be able to go outside and walk in the trees and go for a jog. Maybe you can only look out your window. It's all different. Every city here in China was a little bit different as far as the degree of that lockdown. So enjoy what you can, and it's okay. I'm not justifying myself. I'm telling you, it's okay to binge watch movies. Or one of my friends got me hooked on I hardly ever watch TV, but I got the series The Good Doctor. Oh my gosh, I like that one. And I rarely watch a lot of TV, but it's okay to do those things. If you're enjoying it and it makes you feel good, do those things that will help you feel better. But switch your thinking too, and try to do some things that will help other people feel better. So if you're thinking of moving forward, doing a podcast, and you haven't before, and you're watching this and thinking about it, don't think about how much money you can make with it, or, oh gosh, maybe I could interview some important people and I'll feel important. Don't think about yourself. Think about the other people. What can they benefit from what you're planning to do? If you're already podcasting, you're already doing Facebook Live videos, you're out there, then start thinking about the other people way more than you do now. And even offline, when you're in a conversation, always be thinking, am I talking more about myself, or am I allowing them to talk more about themselves? Because people love to talk about themselves. And that's the biggest thing, I think, is to switch our thinking. What can we give, not what can we get? And if we give enough, if we give enough, if we do enough to help other people, then we can get whatever we want in life, right? That's definitely a Zig Ziglar quote, messed up a little bit. But think about what you can do for other people. And the best advisor, I'm usually asked whenever I'm interviewed on TV or radio, who's my mentor? Who do I learn the most from? And I want to tell you, I want you to use this same person, well, with a slight variation. The Denis Nurmela of the future is a guy I talk to a lot. And I ask him how he got through challenges that I might be going through right now. So I want you to find the you of the future and have some real conversations with that person and find out how they got to be successful, and then follow that path. Listen to the advice, because when you look at a mountain that's behind you that you've already climbed, you can see the path that you took. But when you look at the mountain ahead of you, you still have to build the path. So look back sometimes by talking to the you of the future. Hey, it's been great to share with you. I hope you have a great time in whatever country you're in. Hello from China, and 再见我的好朋友. Goodbye, my good friends. See you later.
Hey there, I'm Robin O'Donovan, also known as Killarney Star in the music world, and I'm so excited to be here and to entertain you for just a little bit, talk with you. I want to thank Raven and Khalik and everybody who's made this amazing program possible. Oh my goodness, the production and the editing that's gone into all of this is profound. And I also want to thank all the people who've participated and are, sharing their wisdom, their high vibes, their entertainment with you. Thank you so much for watching. All of you who are viewing this, you are doing more than just watching. You are investing in yourself, and you are adding to the amazing collective that we have here, with everybody coming together just on this high vibe, experiencing all of this together around the world. It's amazing, and it's what we need, I believe, to heal, to move forward from these times. Now, first of all, I want to say that I think these times, whatever you want to call it, the quarantine, the downturn, the recession, the pause, the gift that God has given us to just be, okay, whatever you want to call it. I tend to call it some of the latter. I realize there's still a lot of pain, there is still a lot of sickness, there is grief, there is death going on, and there is conflict. And I truly believe that we are being given an extraordinary opportunity to come together as a collective and heal that. And I think what that starts is to just feel our feelings. And I think that is one of my callings in life, all right? I am a singer-songwriter, and I would love to share with you a couple of my songs today that I think speak to what we're going through right now, and that I think will help us kind of dig in and feel our feelings. Now, the first song is called Throwing My Piano, and it's a song about loss, all right? But at the point I wrote the song, which I had written it for an album that was just, about loss, but this song is more upbeat and airy and fun, because I had kind of gotten tired of wallowing in the grief. Not to say anyone is doing that, but sometimes there comes a point that you say to yourself, okay, I've felt the pain, I've dug deep, I've experienced it. Where can I go from here? What can I do with this? How can this drive me to the next level? And what am I gonna have to do to get there? And what I realized in writing this song, and I have to pause and say, I don't always feel that I write my songs. I think that most of my songs are downloaded to me, and I am just the instrument to share them with you. And so I hope that you'll honor that with me. But so the song came when I kind of got that sense of, okay, what's next? What am I gonna have to do to get there? And the answer, when I paused and I listened, was let go. Let go. And so I wrote the song years ago. It's, on my first album, but I still have people writing to me saying, this song is on repeat because I just feel it so much, either right now or, last year, a few months ago or whatever. But I think the song, it just has this universal relevance of reminding us when it's time to let go. So I invite you to think, with everything that's going on right now, to first honor what you've been forced. Probably everyone has been forced to let some things go. Maybe some plans, for sure. Some expectations for the year. Some freedoms. Maybe if we're stuck at home with our kids, or with people who need our attention or whatever. Maybe some business. Obviously, we've been forced to lose some business, some money. But let's go beyond that and ask ourselves, what can we choose to lose? What can we be intentional about, and make the choice to just let go, all right? It could be expectations of how things were gonna go, okay? Because I find that when I surrender to just, and you can call it however you like. I feel like when I surrender to the will of God, or the spirit that's inside of me, or my life's purpose, or where I surrender to where the universe is taking me. There's all different ways you could put it. When I surrender to that, that's when I find my most peace, my most joy, and my most success. So think of a possession, either material or something more intrinsic, that's so precious to you. you could have the courage to let it go. And let me tell you, this is not just anyone saying this to you, okay? This is coming from a person who literally sold everything, except maybe like 30 boxes of mementos, for my grandmother and papers and things like that, but sold everything in 2018 and went to live off-grid in an RV and traveled the country for a year. Okay, so I'm back in a house now for some logistical reasons, but and I did keep my piano, which would be the focus of this song, Throwing My Piano. So think of something that's very precious to you, that you thought was precious to you, and ask yourself, now that I've been kind of influenced to reframe everything in my life, how important is that stuff? How important is that stuff, and what would it feel like to just let go? All right, either physical stuff, emotional baggage, mental blocks that are holding you back, beliefs that aren't yours, that have been ingrained in you since you were born. What would it be like to let that stuff go? All right, worry, fear. What would it be like to let that go? I invite you to consider it. This is Throwing My Piano.
Sometimes you just have to take all that you know, throw it overboard, out the window like a sinking ship or burning house in snow. The pleasure lies in watching them go down. Watch it fall 7 stories to the street below, explode with a delightful bash like crashing pianos. Okay, what can I get my hands on now? Something that will scream and protest as I throw it out. Something that will make a trajectory howl. I'll judge its uselessness just by its sound. Silver diamond gone forever in a shimmering arc. I know now that loss is just essential to good art. So can't you find the strength to let it go? The trouble is the bubble that you'll never blow. Throw your piano off the board and feel how it feels to let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Returning starfish to the surf, lost on lake but doesn't seem to hurt. Do they ever feel a phantom sense of pain before they feel the birth of a new limb again? Again, you get to begin again and find the strength to let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. People always come and change everything. Why do I have to be the one they change? Why can't I be the one to stay right where I am? Steady, stand and face the racing train. Pounding in this tempest that I know contains my heart. Tearing off my legs to save an arm. I'm clawing at the ropes bound around my throat, throwing my piano off the board. The trouble is the bubble that you'll never blow. Throw your piano off the board and feel how it feels to let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Melting down the crucible, all that's left is crucial. Separate the ash from the heated facts. If you want to know, all you have to do is ask your heart. Ask your heart. She'll tell you. Ask your heart. She'll tell you. Find the strength to let it go. She'll tell you. Find the strength. Just find the strength. Find the strength to let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
That's Throwing My Piano. And you can hear it on Spotify if you want to. So here's the thing about letting go, or asking your heart, as the song says. It sounds really easy, right? And to go back to my former example, I want to clarify that selling everything we owned, my family, from a 2,700 square foot house, 40 years worth of possessions, okay, was not easy. And it actually took years of inner self-work to work up to the point where something like that was possible. Now, I don't believe that, if you want to sell everything and go travel, that it's going to take you years from now to do that. It really is just a choice. I was hiding from my choices. I was hiding from who I really was. And part of the root of that is I just didn't know how to listen, really listen to myself. And I think that in this day and age, we just really want, more than anything, to have that concrete evidence, We say, oh yeah, listen to my heart, and then our heart says, oh, thanks for listening to me. What if you did this? And then our mind, our ego jumps in and goes, oh my gosh, no, really? No, that can't be the right idea. No. That's scary. That would cost too much. I would, or I don't have the money, or I can't go without money, or so-and-so will never let me do that, or nobody does that. Like, how many times have you shut down your heart because you just didn't believe it? So, and this next song was actually written pretty recently. It was written, I think at the very beginning of the quarantine, right? Beginning of March. I just woke up one morning and the song just came right out. The lyrics came right out. I actually just wrote the music quite recently, the other day. And it's a song called Evidence, because it's about like my struggle to demand evidence when really that's just not how life works. And I don't really address this in the song. It's probably for another song, but how life works is we do the thing and we get the evidence, okay? I don't know if you've ever heard anyone tell you that. If you have, great. I'm telling you again. If you had told me in 2017 that I was going to be laid off for the third time, and then my husband at the time was going to be laid off, and that we were just going to be like, you know what? We've worked for 20 years. For what? And we never get to see our kids. We take 2 weeks of vacation a year. Like, let's go do this thing called life. Let's just sell everything. Let's hit the road. Let's, move into an RV, off-grid, solar power. Like, let's travel the country. If you had told me in 2017 that's what I would be doing by the end of 2018, I would have told you were crazy. But when it's funny because I made an intention in 2017 to do my music full time. I just put the intention out there and I said, universe, God, spirit, my own heart, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I trust, I have faith it's going to happen. Show me the way. And step by step, God was like, okay, do this, do this, do this. You don't need this. You don't need that. Get rid of that. And here I am in 2020. I don't have a day job, you guys. This is what I do. I do music full time. I also do a couple of music-related things, but I'm a singer-songwriter, and it's so much fun. Oh my gosh, it's so freeing just doing what I love. So this song goes out to all of you who think that you need evidence. Basically, my motto the last couple of years has just been find the highest cliff you can find, run toward the edge of it, and jump off. And build your wings on the way down. They may be airplane wings, helicopter wings, butterfly wings. Just do it. And I guarantee you, the wings will sprout. The next little cliff, a parachute, something will catch, a net, something will catch you that you were like, oh, I would never have even found this if I hadn't jumped off the cliff, right? Just do it. You don't need the evidence. Do it, and the evidence will appear. And then you'll be just a little more crazy to do more things without evidence and get the evidence that worked, and just keeps manifesting itself. It's really fun, and I suggest that that's the way to live life. Give it a try. So this song is actually the world premiere of this song called Evidence.
surrender to the mess inside, burrow deep and try to hide. I just need a little evidence to know your heart is still in resonance. And when I'm down and it don't make sense, I just need some evidence. On days I stumble, lost and cold, take me back to where your love unfolds. 'Cause you know I can't do this alone. I need your everlasting arms. I just need a little evidence to know your heart is still in resonance. And when I'm down and ended, don't make sense, I just need some evidence. Dig this chasm far and wide, leave you on the other side. But I only want your love. Where are you this darkest night? I just need a little evidence to know your heart is still in resonance. When I'm down and then it don't make sense, I just need some evidence. Oh, when the dark is knocking at my door, don't think I can take it anymore. I surrender to the bliss inside. You bring me evidence tonight. Evidence, show me, bring me evidence. Hold me, evidence. Give me evidence. Give me evidence tonight.
Thank you so much for being with me. I hope you have all the evidence that you need to go forth and make it an amazing day, an amazing rest of the year. I'm Robin O'Donovan, also known as Killarney Star, and you can find me on killarneystar.com. Thank you so much.
In any situation, we have the ability to take control and make our own choices for what happens next. So I'm Marc Guberti. I host the Breakthrough Success podcast. And I mentioned the podcast because a lot of the people who I've interviewed on the podcast, they've come from rough beginnings. They've been able to pick themselves up. And some of those people were affected by what happened during the 08-09 financial crisis. And I think the theme of those stories that I've had on Breakthrough Success really resonate with this time, because 08, 09, it's very similar to what's going on now, except there's a pandemic, which certainly makes it different from a health perspective. But from an economic perspective, you do have a similar setup with a lot of people trying to reinvent themselves based on a decision they received or something of that nature. So I've had a lot of guests in 08, 09. They had that experience. They lost their job. Really deep things happened to them. And while that time was very stressful in their lives, and I feel like a lot of people can relate right now, they came on my show years after that stuff happened. And with years behind them, it still hurt, but they were able to say that during that time, they were able to evolve. They were able to start that business. They were able to not have to depend on a job anymore. And that's because some people during that situation, they realized how much control they have over their decisions, over their lives, and they decided to do something and take action and have this big vision instead of falling into the narrative that was being played at that time, where you have a lot of people playing defense, you had a lot of businesses falling apart. So when it comes to what's going on right now, there is certainly a lot of panic, but it's important for you to always think about what you can do and what you can control rather than the narrative that is surrounding us at this moment. So a lot of people at this time, they've had their incomes affected by what's been happening, and you still have the ability to control what steps you take into the future. You can't control what happened in the past and what happened just before you got to where you are now, but you certainly can control what you do. If you are someone who is in this dire position, what do you do to generate income? What do you do to do the different things that maybe you were able to do before, or maybe feel a lot less attainable now? But think about the things that you can do instead of what has happened, because it's only when we do take that full control, when we do have, like some of my guests, they were through 08, 09, they were through very traumatic experiences, but they decided to take control and have something bigger than themselves to go towards, whether they used family as a motivation or being able to impact people. Now's a really great time to impact people through your work, because a lot of people, they really need advice that you can give them. And I think when it comes to everything that is going on, it's easy to look at what's happening right now. It's harder to think about 10 years later, the type of person you can be, because of this year where everyone's going through a major transformation. For some people, it's a lot more stressful than others, but everyone is going through a major transformation. And while it is easy to think about what's happening now, think about where you want to be in 10 years and start creating that journey one decision at a time. And it's through each decision where you start to create that type of lifestyle that you want. And it's each day, one after the other, where you make it happen.
Hello friends, Cyndi Williams, a Wanderlust CEO here. I know these messages are going out all over the world, and I'm not sure who needs to hear this today, but I may not know you, but I want you to know I have so much love for you, and I want to share some encouragement about how to get through this time. Not just how to get through it, but how to thrive through this time and getting out of that space that may feel uncomfortable or may feel like change or may feel like chaos. I know it is a challenging time for so many. So I want to share some words of encouragement and some of my favorite tools for getting from point A to point B and to help you thrive through this time. So I primarily work in the travel industry as a motivational speaker, and one of the things I always say is, I've been saying it for years, travel makes the world a little smaller, but it makes the love a little bigger. And why is that? Because when you travel, you learn about different cultures, you learn about different people, you learn that we are all, in a way, the same. We are different, and those differences should be celebrated, but at the core, we are all humans on this planet together, and it's our job to care for one another. It's our job to love on each other and help each other and lift each other up. So if there are those of us that are out there that know how to thrive through these times, it's our job to kind of reach out a hand and say, let me show you what works for me. Let me show you what I've been doing to kind of thrive through this process. And so I wanted to just take a few minutes to do that with you today. One of my favorite quotes is from a world teacher and thought leader, Thich Nhat Hanh, and he says, no mud, no lotus. Just 4 words. No mud, no lotus. What does that mean? The beautiful lotus flowers that you see. Everyone's seen a lotus flower, right? You cannot have the beautiful lotus flower unless you have the mud and the yuck and the chaos and the transformation that is happening just underneath the waterline, right? That's so key and so important to understand. Just think about that just for a second. Think about maybe a difficult time you've been through in your life in the past. Did you come out stronger? Did you come out wiser? Did you come out more capable with more skills? Chaos and change, or the mud, always means evolution. It always means evolving. It is the yuck that is creating the beautiful flower that is your life. So right now, I know for so many of you, it feels like a lot of change and a lot of chaos and a lot of yuck and a lot of mud, right? But the bigger the mud, the more lotuses. The bigger the chaos, the more transformation. The bigger the changes that you're going through, you're getting pushed to grow and to evolve and to change. So although you're in it right now, I want to invite you to reframe this time as a time of gardening for yourself, a time to sow new ideas, a time to plant new concepts, a time to decide what you want for the rest of your life and spend some time deciding on those things so they can evolve and they can grow and they can come out of this time, okay? So that's number 1, reframe how you're thinking about this time. I don't want you to just survive it. I want you to thrive through it. And reframing, starting to think about it a little bit differently. Ask yourself, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, why is this happening for me? What am I supposed to learn through this process? And just listen. Hear what the universe tells you. Hear what your higher self tells you when you get quiet, right? So let's talk a second about how you can change a few things in your daily practice to get you in a better vibration emotionally, and so you can think about this as a time of reframing or a time of gardening or a time of growing and evolving for your soul. The first thing I want you to do is to start a gratitude practice. So every morning when you wake up, I do this every morning. I have done it for years. I write down 3 things that I am grateful for, and I spend time in that feeling of gratitude, whether it's for my health or my children or the weather, or even if there's craziness going on, there's always 3 things you can find to be grateful for. When you do that, you start to shift your vibration and you bring your vibration up to a place where it can accept more abundance, gratitude, and things that you want to bring in your life, right? The opposite happens if you're focusing on lack or scarcity or the things that you don't have, then you're going to get more of that. What you think about, you bring about. Your mind is like a super magnet. It's like an attractor. So if you spend time thinking about the negative, the chaos, the what you don't have and what everybody else has that you don't have, or the challenge, or that, it brings that more of that to you. That's not what you want. You want to flip the script on that. Focus on the things that you are grateful for, so more of those things can show up in your life. So that small change is just one tool that can shift literally your whole day and adjust your mindset for the whole day, okay? So start with that attitude of gratitude and doing that every morning. Just write down 3 things that you're grateful for and spend time thinking about those things. Just do it over your morning coffee or morning tea. That's what I do every day. Number 2, I want you to embrace self-care. There's never been more of an important time to really be taking care of yourself. So many of you watching may have family members that need you, children that need you, spouses that need you, brothers or sisters, or just you have to show up for yourself too, right? You can't pour from an empty vessel. Okay, so what does that mean? You have to take care of you so you can serve your family better, so you can serve your clients better, so you can help yourself get to whatever reality or whatever life you're trying to create for yourself. You will be more productive, I promise, if you take time to care for yourself. That can be as simple as time to read, taking a bubble bath, taking a few minutes every day, maybe, get off social media for a few minutes and use that time to meditate, whatever those things are that bring you joy. Maybe it's cooking, maybe it's crafting, maybe it's walking, maybe you haven't played tennis in a while. Whatever the things are that make you happy, figure out, plan them, schedule them just like you would schedule a doctor's appointment, and show up for yourself, right? You wouldn't just not show up to the doctor if it's on your calendar. Schedule your self-care time and make sure you commit to taking care of yourself. It will make you more productive, and it's also going to continue to lift that vibration to put you in a place where you can get into thriving instead of surviving, okay? Let's talk about number 3. Number 3 is I want you to get quiet and ask the big questions. So once you've done your attitude of gratitude practice, once you've done some self-care, you're feeling in that better state energetically, I want you to meditate or get quiet or pray or whatever resonates best for you, but get into that quiet space, and I want you to ask yourself, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? What would you do if you knew it wouldn't be a failure? And that, my friend, is how you should be spending the rest of your life. I'm not joking. You have to follow your passion. You have to do the things that bring you joy and lift your spirit. And if there's anything that this change and chaos has taught us, is that we can't depend necessarily on corporations, right? We can't depend on others for our life path. Michael Beckwith has a beautiful quote. He says, "You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience." You are here, my friends, to learn and to grow. Your soul is here to evolve and to learn lessons and to experiment and to figure out how you are supposed to expand and grow. Maybe you're here to help others in their journey in some way. Maybe you're here to learn about your soul. We don't know those answers for each other, right? That's the difficult part. But if you really think about the fact that you're a spiritual being having a human experience, you're on planet Earth like it's a school, right? I want you to think about that for a second. If you're here to learn, it's not as scary. Just like when your kids go off to school and you're like, do a great job on that project. Your life is your project. You were responsible for it. So what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And what are you waiting for, right? Use this time to do 1 or 2 productive things every single day to work you towards that goal of the thing that you would do if you weren't afraid to fail. And once that energy of doing that and moving towards it, once you take those steps in that journey and in that space, the universe will rise up to meet you. Doors will open where they didn't open before. Things will start falling into line for you, because when your life is when you are moving towards your life's purpose, everything aligns. For those of you who feel anxiety and stress and you feel a rift about what you have to get up and do every day, it's because that's your soul trying to tell you you're not on the right path. It's trying to shift you back and forth and get you on your life path, because your life path feels like excitement every day. Your life path feels like, right? It feels like fulfillment. It feels like joy. It feels like I can't wait to get up every day, right? I spent so many years in this place, right? I got to the point where my husband thought I was having a heart attack. It would end up being a panic attack, but we went to the hospital. And from that day on, I started making changes until I shifted and really listened to what I was supposed to be doing and where I was supposed to be going, right? Following my passion. Now every day I'm like, can't wait to get up every day. It's like Christmas every day, right? But I know when you're in this place, guys, and especially this place through this year, this is not a bad thing though. It is a shift. It's a transformation. It's the mud before the lotus. It is the mud before the lotus, I promise you. So guys, I just want to encourage you to dig deep and thrive through this time. You got this. And listen, I wish you so much love, so much abundance. I wish you the world. Bye, guys.
Welcome to this segment of Good News You Can Use. I'm Jeff Wolf, reporter, courtesy of the National Post. We have heard about a great event in France. So if you can imagine this, in one of the urban areas in France, there's an opera singer who has been serenading the neighborhood in an old neighborhood. And, you see those pictures of Europe where it's old, old narrow streets, old buildings that have been, that could be 100, 200, 300 years old, where from one of the top floors in his building has been serenading and singing opera for the neighborhood. And it's just echoed throughout the area. Now, opera may not be your thing. Me, I'm a rock and roll kid. Grew up with rock and roll, love blues. But tell you what, imagine having something like that. At a time when you're feeling isolated, you've been asked to to physically separate from people. It makes it harder to socially gather and come together. And then here you get not all night into the wee hours, but you get a nice serenade, a couple of songs from opera, or someone who cares enough to share their talent to help bring some peace and connection, because everybody gets to experience that together, to the neighborhood. And this gentleman sings every evening for his neighbors. And it's someone that is an opera star in France, but he gets to share that gift with the people around him rather than just hunkering down and hiding at home, or just continuing to practice his craft, but not sharing it since the theaters are closed for the time being. That's just another example of how coming together, people are innovating, they're sharing their talents, they're helping with each other, they're helping each other, and and making the journey just a little bit easier. More good news you can use. And we have with us Eldonna Lewis Fernandez, founder of basketsandbeadskenya.com. Eldonna, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
And I want to ask you about your trip to Kenya right before the great shutdown started. Before that, could you give us a quick overview of Baskets and Beads?
I went to Kenya on a mission trip in February 2018. I met these women in a slum in Kenya. We went there to do outreach and to take supplies and do sharing our testimony and just doing some uplifting things for some of the people in Kenya. The person I went with on the trip is a retired pastor from my church. He's been going to Kenya for 20 years. And I was excited to go. And when we went to hospitals and prisons and schools. And one of the places we went was the Kipsongo slum, which has little mud huts, tin roof, dirt floor, no running water. And one thing I noticed about these women, before I even noticed about the beads that they made and the purses and baskets, was that they were happy. They know that they don't have anything, but they were singing and they were dancing and they were hugging and they were happy. And it was incredible to me. just gave me a like, wow, you don't need a bunch of stuff to be happy. As a matter of fact, when I came back from Kenya, I started cleaning stuff out, and I keep cleaning stuff out. I don't need all this stuff. Well, one of the ladies, her name's Patricia, gifted me with a bead similar to this. It was colorful, more like this one that I'm wearing, and these are made out of magazines. And she wanted sponsorship for her son to go to school. And then when we left, a lot of the other ladies had different things. They had beads and necklaces, they had purses, they had some things lying out. We didn't have any money with us, but I found out that they had been taking microloans to buy the materials to make those products and sell them there in Kitale, Kenya. And I went away thinking that, hey, maybe I can sponsor Maxwell to go to school. That's how I can help. I knew I would go back to Kenya. I really felt moved by the trip there. And
well,
then,
and I have a question about the school. So they have to pay to go to school there?
They do. School isn't free.
Oh my gosh.
And as a matter of fact, from around middle school, our middle school age, they have to board there. They board at school. They have to buy school uniforms. They pay school fees. They have to buy all their supplies. And most of these women can't afford that. It's about roughly, depending on what school, $400 to $600 a year, plus supplies and upkeep when they're staying there to make sure that they have food and other things that they need, like new notebooks and pencils and books and things. So, and then there's tuition, and it doesn't seem like much, but that might be like about $4,000 to $10,000 here to pay to go to tuition to go to school.
Wow.
Their monetary difference to ours is a little bit different, but that's still a lot when
that sure is in those kind of circumstances. Because
right.
Also in their living conditions, when we were talking earlier, if I understood you, they're basically living in what was an old landfill, or essentially on top of a large compacted trash heap.
Right. It was the landfill moved to another location. So this was an old landfill. They basically fled harsh conditions in the region they lived in up around Lodwar. There were tribal wars there where people were getting killed. A lot of our ladies had lost spouses. They lost children as a result of those tribal wars. The government ended up allowing them to stay there, and they've erected mud huts made out of mud and cow dung. There's no running water. There's no kitchens. There's no bathrooms. They have to cook on little pots with charcoal, or they make a wood fire to cook on. So life is pretty rough, and a lot of them don't have birth certificates, so they don't have government IDs, and you can't work without a government ID. So it's a real challenge for them to earn income. So somebody else who had gone on a previous trip was giving them microloans that they would buy the materials to make the beads and sell them there in Kenya. And I went back that night and went to sleep thinking about Patricia and her son Maxwell and all the ladies I'd met that day and just the impact that they had on me. And I woke up in the middle of the night with this idea that wouldn't leave me alone. Buy some beads, sell them with your book when you speak, baskets and beads. So that's how baskets and beads came about. And I brought back half a suitcase of beads in February 2018. And here, a little over 2 years later, I've been back 5 times. I've got space in 3 retail locations where I rent a space, plus I have some wholesale customers. Plus, I recently pivoted to online once the COVID-19 started.
You mentioned that you have 3 physical locations in Southern California now, but weren't you just in the process of setting up one of those when all of a sudden the order came out that, hey, that's all got to stop, everybody's got to stay at home? How did you respond to that?
Well, I was in 2 right as the shutdown happened, and I had found the 3rd one, and the 2 we still had to pay rent. Actually, one of them reduced our rent a little bit, so I still had to pay rent on that. And I had discovered the 3rd one and wasn't going to go look at it, or we couldn't go look at it right away. And I was considering that for the summer if in fact things would be opening up. But I was in the process right before the shutdown anyway. I had started in December to build a Shopify store online. So I was pivoting to online. And when you talk about pivoting, a lot of people use that as a buzzword these days. And pivoting is a great thing because you have to do that. we call it adapt and overcome in my many years in the military. You're thrown something, you adapt to it and overcome, but during that adaptation process, you need to have a plan in order to pivot off of it. You can't simply pivot and go without having some kind of a plan. Now, that doesn't happen in all cases, because in some situations you have to actually simply react. We got thrown a lot of those things in the military, just, oh, here, bam, do this, emergency, go now. Deployments are that way. But you still have to enact some kind of a plan. So I had been starting a plan about December timeframe, and I had signed up for Shopify and was starting to build my Shopify store. When the shutdown happened, I decided to make my Shopify store my main website for basketsandbeadskenya.com so people could go there. And I started blogging, and I've created a video during this time. So I did a lot of research. I did a lot of watched videos, got on webinars because I don't know much about Shopify. And actually, I'm going to start doing some Facebook ads and Instagram ads soon to drive traffic to the store. And I've had some sales, not enough to actually sustain through this, but it's starting to grow. But those type of things take time.
So you were already doing some things online. You just immediately focused more online.
Right. I had no choice but to shift to that because I have no stores. I actually had one wholesale customer that I was talking to, a big store that had that conversation had to stop. But I was still communicating with them during this time. I didn't stop my communication. I was still building the relationship because this is not going to last forever. It's lasting a long time. And I know a lot of people are frustrated, but this is not going to last forever. And the stores are starting to open back up, and eventually things will be open again. So I wanted to make sure that the conversation continued. So when things started again, I was ready to go.
Going forward, how can people become part of the movement that you've been creating to help support the 34 families that you're working with now and expand that? So to help even more families in Kenya and in that area.
Right. Well, basketsandbeadskenya.com is the website. There you can find products there, and also kind of reading their stories, looking at the about video, liking the social media to stay connected. There are sometimes I also have basketsandbeadskenya.org, which there is a link to that in the .com site. If you look at the blog post there's some things about marginalized people, one about the impossibility of getting food and another one about the problem with unsanitary conditions. There's a link in there to the .org site. I have we call it the double high five program, like $10 a month, give a double high five for food packs. And until the business gets fully sustainable, I plan on making sure that they have food every month, because as long as they have food and they're able to take care of their families, that puts less stress on them. We have one of our young ladies who's pregnant with her second child, and she's worried about the virus, and we're hoping and praying that she's going to be okay and that her delivery is going to be fine. But it's difficult. It's a lot different than we live like here in the U.S.
$50 feeds a whole family for 1 month. That's amazing. Eldonna, thank you for talking with us today. It's great work. Keep it up. As you're watching this, be part of the movement, to help people banding together all over the globe to help improve the lives of the people around us.
A river cuts through rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence. Those words were written by James N. Watkins. He's an author, a columnist, a humorist. And as I read that, I thought about the many times I've been out walking someplace and seen a waterfall, which is all about a river cutting through rock and going over rock to create something beautiful, or driving through some areas in the mountains and see water actually coming out of the rock, coming out from the crevices in the rock, and knowing that with time, that'll increase and there'll be a bigger opening there. And then I also thought about that beautiful place that we call the Grand Canyon. I've never been there in person, but I've seen some of it from the air, flying over that area. It's very visible, even from an airplane from a couple miles up in the sky. And the power of that, created by the Colorado River, a river that is cut through rock, persistently moving through the rock over not just centuries, but probably millennial. Powerful stuff. We all know the power of water when there's a flood, a tsunami. The power of water is great. But as I read that quote about a river cutting through rock, not because of its power, but its persistence, I thought about something else. I thought about God's love, human love too, and the power of the persistence of love. We live in a day and an age where there are some pretty big rocks, boulders, if you wish, in our lives. There's COVID-19. There's all of the worry about getting sick with that. The need to, the good thing about wearing a mask and protecting ourselves and being careful and conscientious, protecting others when we do that. There is the worry about the economic consequences of COVID and how many people have lost their jobs that may not even ever come back, businesses that have closed, all because of this virus that's still nowhere near under control and for which we do not have a vaccine. And that's a huge boulder in our lives. And for anybody who's in ministry, like I am, as a pastor, that is like the elephant in the room, the boulder in the middle of any house of worship, regardless of what faith you're involved with. It has changed everything. And then there's also the racial issue that has come roaring back to life because life was taken from George Floyd and a couple of others as well. Taken from them when that did not have to happen, and unjustly taken from them. And, all of that, those big issues, they seem overwhelming in many respects, and they are. They're huge. They're things that they can really get us down. They can drag down our emotions, our feelings. They can lead to depression, the isolation that we experience because of COVID. All of these things are huge rocks in our way. And in the midst of all of that, it can be easy to give up because underneath those rocks, the COVID and everything else, they have highlighted an even deeper rock that's there. That's called fear. Fear about what could happen. Fear about what is happening. Fear of the unknown. Fear of losing our jobs, losing our homes, losing our health, losing loved ones, losing life, ours and that of others. And that's a powerful, it's a primal fear within us. And how do we combat that? How, in this day and age, how do we have the persistence to keep moving forward? And for me, there's something stronger than water, stronger than a river, and as mighty as a gushing river can be, and even the persistence of a slowly flowing stream to cut through rock. And even stronger than that is the power of love. Even basic human love. Love can break through the hardest of hearts. Love can break through the most traumatic of childhoods or adult experiences. Love can break through in a society where there are huge societal problems. Love and the power of love and caring and compassion literally helped bring down the Berlin Wall. There were people praying. There were people singing. There were people joining hands on both sides of that wall. And it came tumbling down. You can go to Berlin these days and see some sections of the wall that have been saved as remnants, to know where that wall went and the power of what happened when it came down. Love has a power that we sometimes don't realize and don't give its credit and its due. Our human love can create magnificent things, and can, with its persistence, can accomplish far more than anything else can. Look at all of the people who are called protesters, not the rioters. I'm not talking about them, but the people who have gathered in peaceful protests to walk, to march, joining together, all races, all ages, men and women, gay, straight, even transgender people, everybody joining together to say that we need to heal these racial inequalities and bring back justice into the streets. What our nation is founded on, the principles that we hail and honor. And now I'm recording this on July 3rd, so 4th of July, the founding of our nation, the principles on which we stand. But then for those of us who are people of faith, as Christians, Jewish, Muslim, many other faiths too, love is a fundamental principle. God's love. And it is that created everything that exists. God's love. God spoke into existence. Why? Because God saw that it was good. Love declares things good and makes things good. Every part of creation, God said and declared good, including us as human beings. And that means every race, every color, black, brown, red, white, yellow, if there were purple, that too, polka dotted, it doesn't matter. God declared all to be good. And the power of love, our human love founded and resting on God's love, can do more to break up the rocks of our lives, even than water. Yes, we have to be persistent about it. And in this day and age, we need to keep being persistent, wearing our masks, caring for one another when people are out of work and can't, funds are running out. How do we care for one another? We can do this. Solving the injustices of race. And we can do it without taking away from anybody else. The idea of abundance is that abundance means in God that it's to give to someone else doesn't deplete the others. That's part of love. Giving in love creates more of it, doesn't deplete. Working in love does not deplete love, it creates more of it. Serving in love does not deplete, but creates more. The power of love persistent. A river cuts through rock not because it is powerful, but because it is persistent. What can your love, powered by God's love, cut through? What are the rocks that you face? How can we join together in love to cut through the societal, systemic issues of racism? How can we join together in love to cut through and work to help others in the midst of COVID? How can we join together in love persistently to solve the issues of our time? Those are many questions, but there are many possibilities. And as we join together to do that, we do not deplete one another. We add to the love. We increase it persistently, cutting through these rocks until the boulder becomes a smaller rock, until those rocks become pebbles, until the pebbles become sand. It happens. It's possible. Join together in this, Broadcasters Unite. That's what we're about, finding ways to do these things. I'm Pastor Kathleen Panning. I have a show called A Flame Ministry on Raven International TV Network and on the radio, boldbravemedia.com, and on Apple Podcast. Please look for me there. But for now, join together. Let's all join together, united in the power of love, persistently. And yes, we will turn these boulders of COVID and racism and any other boulder that's in our way, and we will cut through it by the power of love, increasing love, not depleting it for anyone. So God's blessings to each of you.
Hey, it's Marilyn Devonish here, and the next 10 to 15 minutes, it's more like 15 minutes, I want to just share with you a few of the things that have helped to keep me sane during the time and the crisis that we've been going through. And these are also some of my favorite things as well. So I'm always super ambitious about what I can get done in the time that we have available. I have also got my egg timer, so I'm going to get that started now, and we're going to start with the Huna waking meditation. I'm going to explain what these things are. I'm then going to share with you a few of my favorite mindset tips. We're also going to pull a money oracle card, because I know that money and finances and the economy is on everyone's mind at the moment with the kind of lockdown and pandemic. And then we're going to close with a very quick Huna energy clearing. That's Huna, Huna. So let's get started with the first piece, which is the waking meditation. Now, if you have a breathing practice, use your breathing practice. I'm going to use what we call the Huna Ha breathing, and this is just a fantastic way to calm and relax the body. It's also a great way to re-energize the mind and the brain, because oftentimes when people are under stress, you're not thinking clearly. So this will start to open things up as well. And then from that place of what I call relaxed alertness, you can then start thinking about the next step. And that's when we'll transition into the mindset piece. So you just start with a couple of deep breaths. Now with the Huna Ha breathing, if you wanted to play along with that, you're breathing in through the nose, you're breathing out through the mouth, and you're making a ha sound. So it sounds a bit like this. And there's a bit of a process behind it, but just to say, and for in the interest of time, the out breath is longer than the in breath. So if you have a regular breathing practice, you can use that. If you don't, we're probably going to do about 30, 45, 60 seconds of hard breathing. And this is just to start to bring you into a different place and a different state. So. And another 3 more, big in breath, big out breath. And then whether you have your eyes open or your eyes closed, what I want you to do is almost imagine there's a wave of relaxation that starts at the top of your head and it is cascading all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And you can still continue to combine that with relaxing the breathing. But I'd say also now, just get into the natural rate and pace and rhythm of your own breathing. So just imagine there's a wave of relaxation. It starts at the top of the head and it's cascading all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And you might even imagine it as a healing, cleansing waterfall. And then again, you can do eyes open or eyes closed. What I want you to also do is while you're looking directly straight ahead, or if you have your eyes closed, you imagine that you're looking straight ahead. While you're looking ahead, what I want you to do is also imagine that your field of vision and awareness is opening up and expanding. So you're looking straight ahead, but you also have a sense of what's happening on the periphery as well. And again, you're not staring, it's just the kind of gentle gaze. You're aware of what's happening on the periphery of your awareness, even though you're looking straight ahead. And just also relaxing the breathing. And what this does, as well as reoxygenating the body, because you have a sense of what's going on either side of you, it also opens up left and right brain integration, which means that you can think more clearly, you can access your creativity, and it's also kind of calming and relaxing on the body. And then maintaining that state, I'm then going to share with you just a few of my favorite things around mindset. And actually, let's see if I've been a bit organized this time around. What I'm going to do is share with you kind of some of my mindset tips. Now, first thing I will say in terms of what's going on in the world at the moment, because it appears that everything is imploding and exploding all at the same time, the first thing I often remind myself of and remind my breakthrough coaching clients of is that you and we have survived everything the world has thrown at us thus far. We're still here. In the words of Elton John, we're still standing. So that's something to remember, that because when times get really bad, when things get really confusing, you are safe in the knowledge you've actually survived everything that life has thrown at you thus far. I'm not saying you've come out of it scot-free. You might have your battle scars and all the rest of it, but you are here watching this video. So that's the first thing. Second thing I would say in the current climate is take things one step at a time, because just the life itself and what's going on around you can feel completely overwhelming. So there's no point adding to the overwhelm by trying to do 20 million things and think about everything at once. So I just say, okay, what's the next thing? What is the next thing I need to do? What is the next thing I need to think about? What is the next action step I can take? And just take that action step. Sometimes it can be as simple as making a phone call, sending an email, drinking some water, because I know a lot of people are dehydrated, and that can affect the way your mind and body thinks and works and acts as well, and it also impacts the brain. It may be that you need to go out and get some fresh air, take a time out, sit, go back to step one, do the waking meditation process. However, even though you're just doing one thing, once you add those one things up over a period of time, the cumulative effect is extremely powerful. So one step at a time, going for the cumulative effect. The next thing I would say, and this is from a program that I designed probably back in 2013 now, and I call this one the tag process. So it's about the appreciation and gratitude game. And this is something I've been doing for about 25 years, where it started off where I would just choose one thing. And I think, okay, what is one thing I'm appreciative of, or grateful for. And this was back in the days where I was working up to being suicidal. And so this was a lifesaver for me. In its more current iteration, in terms of the program, I asked people to choose 10 things. Now, if you're going from a standing start, 10 might be quite a lot. So you might just go with what's 1 or 2 things. But if you can manage 10, do 10. 10 things that you're appreciative of, 10 things that you're grateful for. Now, that doesn't mean 20. It can be a combination. You could be appreciative, you could be grateful, but a list of 10. But if you just want to start with 1 or 2 things, and trust me when I tell you, it will get to the stage sometimes where you're going, for me, when I started doing it 25 years ago, it was probably the 3rd or 4th day, because I said I was going to do it for 21 days. And I was like, I'm grateful for my dual-lit toaster. And I laughed at myself. And I thought, actually, I am grateful for my dual-lit toaster because it makes the most fabulous toast. So go with anything that comes to mind. Don't overcomplicate it. And then one of the things I would say, and we come back to step 1 again, being in that state of where you're much more calm, you're much more relaxed, you're much more aligned. The question I'll be asking myself if I feel overwhelmed, I'm not sure what to do, I'm not sure what direction to take, is I'm going to be saying, what is my next best step in this moment? Doesn't mean it's the best step ever and the only thing you're going to do, but in this moment, what is my next best step? And then and sometimes it will come to you straight away. It's instantaneous. And at other times, being in that state where you're relaxed, you're calm, and you're open, go about your business, go about your day, but something will come to you. Something will come to you. Your intuition will speak to you and say, it's this. So those are a few things in terms of mindset. What I also want to share with you, and now this is an interesting one. It's not for everyone, and that's why I'm going to. This is a point where you might go, "Thank you very much for the tips. Thank you for the relaxation. I'm done." We're going to pull a money oracle card. The reason I decided to do this, I'm going to use my money oracle deck, is because money, finances, all of that is in a state of turmoil at the moment. And so my intention is that we're kind of collectively going to hold the intention that we're going to draw a card which is going to give us some sort of food for thought, maybe a piece of insight, something that we can do, a little daily practice, whatever it might be. Now, the cards are all exactly the same on the back, so I'm going to be choosing them facing away from me. So I won't see what I've chosen until I've turned them over. So I'm just going to give them a shuffle, holding the intention for all of you who want to play along, and we'll see what we get. So let's see. So we want a card that's going to be good for the collective, for the energy of people who are watching this in real time, for the energy of people who are watching this in the future. Okay, I'm going to go for that one there. So let's see what we got. Wow. Okay, now this, seriously, this is so perfect for what's going on at the moment. So I'm going to hold it up just so you can see it for a moment, and I'm going to read it to you, because if you're watching on a small screen, you may not be able to make out what it says. So it says money decision. It says, is your net worth equal to your self-worth? ? If so, when did you decide that was the case? Was it before, during, or after your birth? Is it okay to change that decision now? And what's your new direction? What is your new direction? And on the card, it says new life, because we're out here in the United Kingdom. I know that a lot of you guys are going to be out in the United States. Over here, we're talking about the new normal. So when I said, wow, this is perfect in terms of it actually saying new life, but also I know that many people's sense of self-worth, their sense of self-esteem, their sense of confidence has been completely knocked, and in some cases shattered, by what's been going on, because many people are their work, they are their job, they are what they do. And in the wake of the pandemic and the coronavirus, a lot of that has been stripped away. Many people are on furlough, many people have lost their jobs, and therefore you may have lost your sense of identity. So this card, and you might want to go back and rewind it to listen to the questions again, this card is an invitation to detach your sense of worth, your sense of value from money and who you are and what you do, because when you come back to that place of seeing your value as a human being, it means you're less impacted by all of the crazy things that are going on around you. So that's that one. Final thing I want to do in the time that we have available, I think I've probably got about 2 or 3 minutes left in terms of keeping to the time set for this. I'm going to do a HUNA energy clearing. Now, I appreciate that many of you will have no idea what HUNA is. So all I'm going to say in a nutshell is I've done this, I've been a HUNA practitioner for the last 15 years, well, 20 years, but it was 15 years ago that I first went out to Hawaii to study. And oftentimes I'm working with groups of 500 or 600 people. So this is an example. That's me on stage. That's Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, and Dr. Bruce Lipton. And there are about 550 people in that audience. And I did just 2 or 3 minutes of HUNA, which is what we're going to do here today. For the next 4 days, I could not walk 2 steps without someone coming up to say, I have no idea what you were doing, but I was in pain and the pain in my shoulder's gone. My back is feeling better. My hot flushes have stopped. Other people were saying I was so confused. I was really tired. I was really lethargic. I was actually thinking of leaving early and going home. As soon as you finished, I was full of energy. I had a sense of clarity. I had a sense of focus. I remember there was a guy who had just flown in from Japan, came into London, so he just stepped off the plane. I saw him at the end of the first day, and I said, hey, are you okay? And he said, oh, I've got real bad jet lag. I don't even know if I'm going to make it through the rest of this weekend. And I said, would you like some energy clearing? That's all I said to him. He had no idea what I was doing. I just said it was a thing called HUNA, H-U-N-A. I put it on the screen because I know when I say it, particularly with my accent, some people will say, what? And so I did just a couple of minutes, minute or two, and he looked at me and he said, HUNA is better than Starbucks, and HUNA is better than Red Bull. And I saw him the day after that and the day after that, and he just smiled at me, and that's what he said every single time. So this is the point where, again, if this isn't your cup of tea, we can end it here. Thank you so much for watching. And if it is, I'm going to ask that you just give yourself permission to receive. That's it. Now, the HUNA symbols, they're drawn on the breath and they are delivered on the breath. So it's going to sound and look a bit like, and what I'm going to do is just a very quick protocol to finish off, to start clearing the energy. I think this one we're going to go with confidence. We're going to go with clarity. We're going to be going with removing blockages, anything that's kind of stopping and blocking and standing in your way. And again, you can just sit back, eyes open, eyes closed, and just kind of receive the energy of that. So here we go. Okay, that's it from me. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you found those tips useful. I hope that you enjoyed the Huna energy clearing. Again, my name is Marilyn Devonish, and my main website is www.transformationstm.com. Thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed that, and I really look forward to watching the rest of the series. And thank you, Raven. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Bye-bye.